Hello and welcome to Fresh Off the Dome, your topic-based podcast where it's all killer, no filler. We talk about a topic, and that's just how it goes. I am your host, Brian Nabeshin Jackson. Joining me today is Quinton Hoffman.
Hello.
And my boy, Cameron Abbott.
Hey, what's going on?
And this topic this time is around just growing up white, and because this is kind of the sequel to the topic I did before with Jared and Blessing and Nicole about growing up black.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal episode.
Yeah, and I just wanted to hear the inverse of that. I was just curious one day. I was thinking about it, and there's stuff I like to know about. I'm very ignorant about a lot of things. So what's the better way to have to learn something? It's about just getting two of my closest friends together and just having this conversation about it. So yeah, let's just talk about it. So I just want to know pretty much your origins. Quentin, you want to start us off just how you grew up, just your general life that you're willing to share with the internet, obviously, and your life, man. Who are you?
So, for a little background for my personal life, I'm a military kid. So I was born and raised in San Diego. But then I've lived in several different places like Hawaii, and Tennessee mainly. Those are the main two places I've lived, but I've always come back to San Diego. Tennessee was living in different situations like that is it's jarring a little bit. Moving from place to place every couple of years can throw you off balance. And it's just hitting purging all your friends and who you know and all that. So it gets annoying after a while. But during the time when I was living in Tennessee, that was a time when I actually realized what racism was and how that is a thing. Because I was living there during the Obama but when Obama was getting elected for the first time.
Okay.
And we So at my school, we elementary school, by the way, we held a mock election to see who the kids would vote for, and it'd just be all fun and jest. And being the kid from California, the little Democrat boy, I voted for Obama because I didn't like anything John McCain was saying really. Mm-hmm. Plus, he had Sarah Palin, and Sarah Palin's just a whack job.
Right.
That's another story for another day. So I voted for Obama. Then just rumor got around that I voted for the black guy in this mock election, which held no value. But from there, I was just mocked and told all these despicable things that Obama's going to slave all the white people, he's going to lynch white people, et cetera, et cetera. And it's that's not something you really want to hear as a 10-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. It's not ideal. It messes with your mind.
10?
Yeah. So hearing those kind of things, it just it jars you a little for the most part. But it's I told my parents about it, and you're never gonna talk to those kids again. I'm cool. Then just hung out with my brother the entire time, and if one of them looked at us funny, me and my brother would just walk over there and threaten to beat them up. So that's just my how I've grown up is someone looks at you the wrong way, you approach them about it, you discuss it, you don't not necessarily threaten them, but you discuss it, you have a conversation with them, but hey, what's going on, why are you looking at me this way, etc., etc.
You mind if I ask you when was the first time you actually knew what race is? Was it something you seen on TV, or was it actually at your school? Or
it was at my school. It was when I was talking to my parents about it. They were all yeah, these kids are racist, time for you to learn about this.
Okay.
So it was a teaching moment.
So that all happened at the same time, more or less?
Yeah, give or take, it was within a span of a month, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the funny thing is, as a kid who was initially in elementary school from San Diego, I knew all the Hispanics, I knew all the black kids, you know what I mean? They were that was in the elementary school that I went to before I moved to Tennessee. I was one of 3 white kids. So all I knew were basically colored people, you know what I mean? That's then going there and seeing all that is how is this shift possible? How is this feasible? And how do these people actually think this way? And it was just baffling to me, you know what I mean? But then it's like then I move back, and it's like I leave Tennessee and I just come back to my home, San Diego, and it's like, okay, so this is like what normal society functions like. This is what like, and sure, there's racists down here, but it's not like they're all swarming after me because I voted for someone different. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it's like living down there is like you see like there was so many like questionable things, but it was a different time during that election, so that's why all that was spurred up.
So like I want to know about like your current interest right now. Like you're studying very much about like African culture and like everything like that. Like what even like inspired for you to even like pursue that?
Because it's so to preface, as I don't know, I'm in college currently, and I've taken Black Studies courses rather, and the like to answer your question, Nabeshin, is because it's different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone who like not only wants to see the other side, but like wants to see the lives that are being lived by others and like understand and know what is occurring and where the problem stems from and how to stop it. You know what I mean? And want to stop it and need to stop it. Feel a need to like discuss these things and have civil discourse with people who are not only like white but Hispanic, Black, etc., and like expand their reach and get them curious and want them to stop these things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking those classes was weird because like I was the only white kid, so like it was a class full of Black kids, and I was like, oh, I'm the white kid. I'm gonna sit in the back because I don't like I'm the black sheep in this instance. You know what I mean? And learning about that is so fascinating and so different. It's a refreshing point of view that no one really has. No one really discusses.
Mm-hmm. Just out of curiosity, like, were you met with any animosity for being in that class?
Well, like first couple of weeks, people asked me like, why? Even my professor, my professor, he was like, "Why are you taking this class?" I'm like, "Because it's interesting to me."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Cool," and I'm just like,
"Okay, cool."
Like, was just chill about it, and like other like kids in the class didn't really care. You know what I mean? But like having my professor reach out to me like, are you taking the right class? And me saying yes, it was like the sign of like something changing. You know what I mean? And like something different occurring.
It's always interesting to me to like to have like that happen. You know, like where it's like, why are you here type of thing, and like, and you kind of have to ask that, but it's like you feel like you shouldn't have to ask that because like it's like can someone be like it's almost like does it have to be like, oh, I guess I'm in the wrong room or something like that? Like, does it really have to be that, or could someone just be generally interested in something just because they have a different skin color? And
that's a valid point, but it's like if you look at the demographic of the school that I look at, it's once again living in San Diego. It's like there's a lot of Black people, there's a lot of Hispanics, and there's some white people. It's like there's not a lot, but but that question being posed to me was weird because it was unexpected.
Right.
I mean, it's like, can't someone like want curiosity and seek something different than what they're being told?
Right.
But like it was like quote unquote eye opening, but it's like I'm knowledgeable on things that wasn't able before. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like part of my curiosity for taking the class is like I've written like papers for English and history before on just like injustices occurring in our history and like how they've transformed into modern day and what like and how that's affecting us now. You know what I mean? I've written about that. I've talked to my professors about that, and then me taking this course was just so different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. I feel you. Cam, let's hear some of your origins, man. Let's see where you come from.
My origins. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, sorry, it wasn't lighting up for a moment. Yeah, my origins. I'm quite a bit different than Quinton. I was old enough to vote when Obama ran for president the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a real vote for him. Although my vote wasn't, blasted out to the world. So
Right.
I didn't have to deal with that. I'm from Arizona. I was born in St. George, Utah, because my mom didn't want to have a baby with the doctor and the midwife that were in the small town that we were in, and that was the closest city with a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 6 months old, my family moved to Mesa, Arizona, and I live in Mesa, Arizona now. So unlike Quinton, I've stayed in one place pretty much my entire life.
It's a pretty nice thing.
It is, but it also isn't. Because I totally was willing just to be a townie for my entire life until I went to San Francisco for the first time and realized there's so much more outside of Arizona. So, but yeah, no, I grew up in my family background's a bit weird. My mom's from New York, my dad's from Nevada. They met in college, and my dad is a Republican and my mom's a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
So, my dad also spent a couple years when he was younger teaching people about Jesus in South Africa during apartheid.
That's fun.
Wow.
And also teaching people about Jesus in a country back then it was called Rhodesia. Now it's called Zimbabwe. He was there during the Civil War that turned it into Zimbabwe.
Mm.
So, in fact, actually, my dad was once detained because he lost this tiny 2-by-3-inch piece of paper that basically would have let him get out of the country. And so he was detained in an actual Rhodesian prison on the border for a couple days. But my dad loves Africa. He loves the African people, the South African people and the Rhodesian. Now the Zimbabwe. I don't know if it's Zimbabwean.
Yeah, Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwean. But he loves
Zimbabwe.
Yeah, Zimbabwe. But the people of Zimbabwe, my dad loves that. He's collected just masks and things from Africa for so many years.
That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it is. I actually have pictures. I will actually share them in the Twitter group or the Twitter DM group that we're in.
Okay.
Because I took pictures for another friend who, when I told them my dad has an Africa room, they're like, "What do you mean your dad has an Africa room?" And I was like, let me show you pictures the next time I go there."
Mm.
But my dad legitimately just has over the years he brought some stuff back from Africa, and then he also brought. I can't add any more to this. But he also has just collected his favorite animals are African animals. He loves giraffes. Giraffes are his favorite animal. Which may just be now as I've gotten older, I realize that just may be the widest favorite animal you could have of the African safari. Because the only people I know who love giraffes as much as my dad does are
white people. Yeah,
white women particularly.
Shout out to Jeffrey the giraffe from Toys R Us.
No, for sure. Yeah, Jeffrey was
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Is that the? Yeah. So that's 4. Those are the 4 images. So this is just a survey of the stuff my dad has. This is not even all my dad's stuff. This is just the stuff my mom will let him put up in their house.
Mm-hmm.
At work, his office literally used to be just filled with just African stuff. Anyway, so he's just always loved Africa, but my dad grew up in a low-income single-parent home. His dad died when he was an infant, so he grew up without a father figure for most of his life. My mom comes from a home from Long Island. They're Long Island Democrats, upstate New York Democrats, who yeah. So and because of that, I have this weird strong pride for all things New York because she taught me that. But both my parents came from my dad's economic status, and my mom lived in a part of Long Island where she was constantly surrounded by people of several different ethnic minorities. Hispanic, Latino, Black, just so there's just so many. She lived in the kind of blue collar working man's part of Long Island in Uniondale. Mm-hmm. And so both my parents came from this neither of my parents were affluent. They both worked hard to go to college. they met in college, and then they had these kids. And growing up, like, I remember when I first encountered racism was in the form of a racist joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize it was racist. Like, I didn't comprehend. I was like maybe 6 years old, and I didn't comprehend that this was like what racism was. I just knew that this joke had Mexicans in it, and I wanted to tell it to somebody who was in our carpool because she said she was Mexican.
Oh, okay, one of those.
So
things.
in my kindergarten level IQ brain, I think to myself, and also should mention I was not a smart kindergartner either.
Mm-hmm.
So a dumb kindergartner level IQ brain, and I'm like, I'm going to tell you about this joke, and I start saying it, and my mom says, Cameron McKay Abbott. Like, who? Like, where did you hear that joke? Like, and who taught you that joke? Like, really digging into me on it, and like I didn't understand. And I said, well, what's the big deal? And she said, well, because she's Mexican. And I'm like, yeah, this joke has Mexicans in it. My mom goes, but and my mom like had to teach me through empathy a little bit there, like. That hurts people. Like that hurts people. And I said, I don't understand. She goes, well, it's racist. And I'm like, what is this word? This concept? But because I grew up in a home where like racism just really wasn't tolerated and was like really stamped out whenever it popped up. I grew up in Mesa, Arizona. There's a lot of white people here, but there's also a lot of Mexicans and a lot of black people. And like, I grew up like being up like, my classroom as a kid was just kind of like this ethnic melting pot of just, there wasn't ever really like to say there was a strong minority. Like probably black kids were in the minority, but that's just because there were so many white kids and so many Mexican kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so like growing up, I had friends of every color, every race. And it just really was not a thing that, especially because I grew up in the part of the 90s where we thought we're like racism's like in the past. Like we're done with racism.
Yeah, it's 2018. Racism's still out here, guys.
Yeah. I'm completely. It completely is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up in like the part of the 90s where they're just like, we're going to have like, we can all look past that. Like we're all like together. And it's like, and I grew up with kind of like this like extremely positive mentality about race relations and about how and about equality. And I really felt like people, like the people around me were my equals. I never felt like because I was white, I was inherently superior. Like that's just that thought never really entered my mind. And so like when I got older and I learned things about like privilege, at first I was just like, I balked at it. I was like, no, we're equals. Like everybody is equal.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how it is. Like that's how we should all like treat each other and be like that. Not really understanding what I know now, but growing up, like I grew up just very much where I encountered racism, and whenever I encountered racism, I was, taught, one, they were either very ignorant, like they were just being ignorant about what they were thinking. They were just being ignorant about their thoughts and their speech, and that their ignorance was to be pitied, and was to like, you were not supposed to put up with that. Like if somebody's saying something like that, you speak out and you say, hey, that's not right. You admonish them like you would with anybody else who is saying something that's wrong.
Right.
Like, it's not a matter of whether or not, like, racism, like, oh, they're racist. It's like, you're racist because you don't, like, you're not comprehending things and you're choosing to ignore things, and you need to stop that because you're just being dumb and you're being ignorant. And so for me, growing up, racism was more about a, like, an intellectual inferiority. If you're racist, you were closed-minded and bigoted, and there was an inferiority.
Well, facts. You are closed-minded and bigoted if you are racist. So.
For sure. But there's also like deeper things like systemic racism and microaggressions that aren't inherently based on intelligence or even strong prejudice or hate, but are just based upon just ignoring. I guess it's ignorance still, but like it's much more minor than that.
Yeah.
So like there's so many different in-depth layers to this because we've had, it's not even just in the United States. It's like the human race has a systemic issue of categorizing people as greater than or less than based upon, stupid categorizations like your skin color.
Right.
And so like growing up, like that just was something that I was taught. Like when you meet somebody and they're saying stuff like that, you tell them that they're wrong. You stand up for what you believe in. But like another thing was always put to it, like you don't resort to violence.
Oh.
Oh, I get that. No, I totally get that now, especially in this with what we're dealing with now. Granted, when I was being taught this, we didn't have, the Charlottesville.
Well, it's still like, yeah, obviously not every like thing needs to end in violence, but in my experience growing up, if like someone was being rude to another person based on anything, me and my friends would go up to that person and beat the living shit out of them. End of story. And that's just how it was. Like, you be mean to anyone, regardless of race or anything. If like kids are being mean to like a special needs kid, like, and all that, we would just like go up and enforce that.
There's a difference between being mean and just like being bullying. And bullying is like, people always try to like minimize like bullying. Oh, well, bullying is like this kid thing. And it's like, no, bullying is like a serious systemic issue that we have still today. And that's something that like we need to address, because we let bullies just walk all over people because it doesn't have anything to do with us. And so I think like standing up to a bully, if you stand up to a bully, I would say 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, that will escalate to a violent conflict, because bullies realize that their power comes from people backing down from them. And if nobody backs down from them, they either have to put up or shut up. And most bullies are stupid enough to put up.
Yeah.
I fought a lot of fights. I can't say that I've won a lot of them, but
like, have a group of friends to help back you up, which is nice.
Yeah. It's funny because like the only time that I've ever like jumped a kid with my friends, he was white.
I've beat up white people before.
Yeah, white people beat up white people, beat up anybody. It's like, and that's the thing. It's like when you resort to violence, when you like really resort to violence at the end of it,
just don't commit fratricide.
All right. But yeah, no, like growing up, my mom was always very, but also like growing up, there were things that outside of just, racism, like just regular prejudice. Like growing up, one of our favorite games to play on our trampoline was Smear the Queer. When my mom caught wind of that we were saying, like we were playing that game and that's what we were calling it, she put the kibosh down on that. Yeah. She just said, no, it's not that, because she's like, because you're not she's like, how do I reach my kids who have grown up with like this privilege of not having racism around them constantly, to understand how the, like, just even though you're saying the name of the game, what the name of that game actually infers to, and like the context of it. Yeah. And so she teaches, little kindergartner, first grader Cam, honey, sweetie, it's smear the person with the ball. And being a kid, I'm like, that doesn't rhyme. Yeah. And I'm really upset that it doesn't rhyme. And I can't play Smear the Queer because it doesn't rhyme.
So you need like a crisscross applesauce type of thing instead of like Indian style.
It's like, you can't tell me, you say I can't sit Indian. I'm like,
Native American.
It's like, it's like as a kid, I just had that, like, issues like that a lot.
Well, I was like, I'm going to interject real quick. As a kid, I was told like Indian's the proper way to say, but like the more I did research and the more I came to my own logical conclusion, they were here before us. And they're called Native Americans. Right. They're not from India. Ooh, big shocker.
And this thing, growing up in Arizona, I've known Native Americans my entire life. I've had friends my entire life that are Native American, that are like family friends. And also Native American culture has just been such a predominant effort of history in Arizona. When you learn about Arizona history, you learn a lot about the Native American culture and the different Native American cultures here in Arizona. That were, I'm literally, if I hop in my car, I can get onto the Native American, like the Hopi reservation within 5 minutes tops. Yeah. That's if I hit every red light on my way there. Like, I live right by a reservation, and I have my entire life. Yeah. So I mean, that's also part of it. Like when you're living and you're not being raised with these ignorant things, you can also end up finding yourself in a situation where like things like microaggressions will occur because you don't think about it. Like thinking, man, I'd really love to do cornrows because Andre is doing cornrows and he looks so cool.
No, don't ever. I see white people doing cornrows and dreads and all that, and I'm like, you can just stop now.
Like, yeah, it's there's a lot to that. But for me personally, it's just like I was just like, man, I just like. And another thing is like being black growing up as a kid was synonymous with being cool. I grew up in the 90s, like with the post Michael Jackson,
right?
Like this entire
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all this other stuff.
Bel-Air, like being black was synonymous with being cool. So for me to think of like black people as like having a bad end of it, it's like you're not having a bad end of it. You're the cool people. You're the people with all the cool stuff. You have the cool music. You have the cool everything, like the cool style. You have the cool hair, like everything about you guys, or hairdo. Sorry, not the cool hair, but the cool hairdos. But like everything about like black culture to me as a kid, especially with my dad who loves and adores, traditional African culture. Like it just made sense. Like that's cool. Like my dad also loves collecting nativity sets, and some of his favorites are those with like little black Jesus in it.
Okay.
Like
okay.
I'm like I'm not like I know I'm not like the atypical white kid. But in a lot of ways, I am. Because I'm vanilla as fuck.
You are vanilla as hell. Let's be clear.
100%. When people find out, like I used to be a little hood rat running around, they get very surprised.
Trust me, I was hopping over people. Excuse me, I was hopping over people's fences like it was nothing. It was just like something we did.
Oh no, I was talking about like I used to break into people's houses as a kid.
Oh no, I never did that because I lived on military housing, and if you did that, you'd be breaking the law, and you'd get like.
Well, you
taken to jail.
The law when you break and enter anywhere.
But, like there was like always security that roamed around.
Yeah, no. Whenever
when you live on a naval base, there's security everywhere.
Oh yeah, no military base, of course, it makes sense. But no, like people used to. I'm like, this is long past. Like the statutes have already passed. Like I'm definitely in the clear of this. But we used to like break into like people like empty houses. Like people had moved and they sold the house.
Condemned houses. Yeah.
Out. Or they had the house on the market, and so like we'd break in and we would just like trash the place. Little hooligans, little hood rats, just roaming around.
I was never doing any of that.
Used to steal lumber from construction sites.
Yeah, I do that. I do that now. So.
But yeah, no. So me growing up white was, I think it's interesting that we have two non-racist, like non-racist people. Back
yeah, I was trying so hard to find a racist online, man.
not circle.
But no, I was wondering. I was like, man, I wonder if Quinton had so in a very similar upbringing. We weren't, our parents didn't let us be raised as no fools.
Well, it's like my uncle's half black. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, there you go.
And so, like, that was never, like, I didn't, like, know that till, like, I was, like, 16. So I was like, because it was just like, oh, that's Uncle Mike. But, like, my mom was like...
Yeah, no, for me, I have black cousins, like, extended family. My family's married into, like all over the place.
Yeah.
I was also, like, another thing that's weird about me, I was raised, like, I have a foster mom who I was fostered traditionally. I've talked to you about this before, Nabeshin.
Yes.
But like she's Chinese. So like part of my like childhood is also being raised with some Chinese culture into it as well. So like I can't say that I've had like the traditional white picket fence, brown bags for lunch, like childhood.
Yeah.
But,
all right. Like, well, since we got into this point,
yeah.
This is more this is probably the part of the podcast I'll do like a lot of questioning for you guys.
Sure.
And just so you know, like I'm very ignorant about this shit. So like, if I offend or anything like that, just let me know. And
Yeah.
I'm more afraid that we might offend you, Nabeshin.
But I will say, like, something about my come up, or like me growing up, however you want to phrase it,
Hmm.
was like this ethic that was instilled in me, just like a work ethic. Was like, you want something, you work for it. Like, you don't stop until you get it. Like, and it's a weird thing that I've had since like I was 12. It's like coming to fruition now. I'm like, oh, I'm actually seeing like how this works, and
Hmm.
I'm like, if you work for something enough and you strive for something enough, you get it. And that's something I'm very grateful to have, because a lot of kids in my generation don't have that kind of ethic.
This is true. Yes.
I had to stop for a second and remember that, like, technically you are at like the tail end, or like bordering on the next end of the generation for me. Because I was like, I don't know, like I know, and I was like, oh nope, I'm an old man.
What's after millennials, Cameron?
Fucking no.
After, I mean, technically they're still millennials, but in the millennial
Yeah,
breakdown,
I'm just saying, like, because it
in the
seems
millennial
like
breakdown, I think they're part of Generation Me.
That's a stupid name.
Yeah, well, it's about like how selfish your generation is.
Thanks. Oh, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, like there's a lot of like the selfie, like this whole selfie generation.
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, like
They're
it
called
does affect
post-millennials,
older
or Generation
older
Z.
people, like in our end of the bracket, Nabeshin. But for the most part, like this whole, like, especially how open younger kids are online.
Hmm.
It's called Generation Z. Generation, iGen.
Okay.
Millennials.
Yeah, Generation Z.
All right.
They're so willing just to be open about everything online, and
Right.
it's like, don't you know they're writing that down? Like the Zuck is writing that shit down. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So ask away. There's no offense will be taken.
Okay. So this is going to sound like a weird question.
Yeah.
Just to say, like, just even say it this way, because I know you'll laugh or something like that when I say it. But like, is it hard growing up white? And when I say this, it's like more of a way of like, do you feel you're always the villain? Like, let's just like say like let's say like white people took over the world, and you could make jokes and say like, yeah, that's true and what's not or whatever.
Yeah. Guess what? Nobshin.
Yeah,
White people.
yeah. Yeah. So it's like you're
So
like this. You're like this. Like you're like Dr. Claw in this like this super organization that is the
man.
world.
You're asking how it felt growing up being part of being the man.
Yeah. Like, do you feel like you're villains in a way just because you're born this way, or
No.
do you feel like you're different or you're better than that or something like that?
No, I've never had that mentality. It's like my parents were just like, cool, don't be stupid. Then like that was just how I basically grew up. Is like, yes, they were like telling me what's right and wrong, but it was like most of the time it was a learning experience. If I did something dumb, the consequences always hit me in the face. It was like I've never seen myself as the villain. I can see myself being a villain, you know what I mean? Like especially just based on the color of my skin, and like the term Yakubian comes to mind, and I say that term often. It's like I use Yakubian in the loose sense of just like white people just doing things to steal money away from like minorities. Because like when I go to work, I'm taking the bus, and I see like a sign that's all about selling recreational like weed, and I was telling my brother one day I saw that sign. I was like, you know what, Uncle Terry's still rotting in prison, but guess what, these Yakubians are setting up this shop and they're selling weed, so it's all good apparently. And there's
Okay,
like
I'll be open and honest here. My familiarity with Yakubian is not as well versed as Quinn's is.
I'm gonna Google it for you, Cameron.
Like, because I googled it myself, and it says the act of reaching a decision in an exceedingly slow, deliberate, indecisive yet charming manner.
Okay, so Yaqub is from the Nation of Islam.
Oh, okay.
Yaqub was a black scientist who lived over 6,000 years ago and began the creation of the white race. He
Yes,
said
I do
he'd
know
done
this.
this through a form of selective breeding referred to as grafting. While living on the island of Patamos, scientific consensus rejected the historicity of this figure. That's where the term Yakubian comes from.
Yes, okay, I do remember this. So, I am I am familiar with this. Okay, we're good. I'm like,
Yes.
Yakubian, it sounds familiar, like I should know that, but
yeah. But to go back to the question option, like I can see myself being a villain just based on the color of my skin, and like based on how people's like come up or how they were how they were taught. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
When I was in one of my Black Studies classes, we had a guest speaker come in, and one of her last like talking points was like be suspicious of white people, and like I was looking around, make sure no one was looking at me.
Because you were the plant, you were the white plant in the class.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, because like speaking from an outsider and like having both my best friends being white, I always feel like there's always like a particular like bullseye on white people's back for like literally anything that comes out of their mouth, and like
but it's with good reason.
Yeah.
Historically, white people have made decisions that have benefited white people and screwed over everybody else. Like these are the consequences of our like not my particular ancestors.
Yeah, the sense of the father. I realize that, but like this is you're new people, and like it's weird. It's weird for me, for like because like me and my best friends, like we joke, we laugh, and like we'll like make racist jokes with each other, but that's that's in our circle. That's like not outside or anything like that.
Yeah,
and it's like we speak a certain way, like we're inside and in the privacy of our home or whatever. But like when we're outside, like they have to be like almost ultra PC, which is like it's hard. Like because like it's kind of a thing where it's like I think like when I would walk with my best friend Mark, like I remember like cause like when me and Mark were growing up, he had like a bunch of black friends, like so he just surrounded himself with black people. And like it was always a joke, like when we walk like in our group or whatever, that we always have Mark with us, and it's like, oh yeah, like whenever we get arrested, we'll just send him to Mark. He'll like get us all off the hook or something like that, something like that. So
I always have a white friend who knows how to evade the law.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. I think big part of it also is there is a natural affluency with like being considered white.
Yeah,
being white generally means having some sort of affluency within society,
being better,
having some sort of pull, like being able to talk to the cops and get yourself out of trouble, like that kind of like affluency. I didn't grow up with that. I grew up my dad is a teacher. My mom's a stay-at-home mom. Between the two of them, they usually had 3 jobs rotating around. Mm-hmm. And like they worked hard. I have 4 siblings that we all we're all born within roughly around 11 or 12 years of each other. So lots of mouths to feed, and it was a hard life, and they made the best out of it, and they did very, very well, I believe. I mean, none of us are detriments to society, so to speak, but when you look at it that way, but my parents worked hard, and they didn't I didn't have an allowance growing up. I didn't have things. If I wanted something, I had to work for it. And it's very much the same thing Quinton was saying earlier. If you want something, you have to work towards it. And that's something that is instilled in us. And the thing is, it happens a lot in white culture too, where once you break down, and it's what I said earlier, we like to categorize each other in the dumbest ways possible. Mm-hmm. And that happens when you get narrower and narrower in what you want to categorize in, because by the time you get to just being white people, well, where's your family historically from? Okay. And not only that, but also, okay, do you come from money? Are you new money, old money? Do you have no money? Like, what part of the country are you living in? There's so many different aspects to white affluency and how it kind of flows around that and this is another thing, just be considerate. I don't really worry about opening my mouth and having, racism fall out, because I'm trying to be, when it comes to these things, I'm trying to be sensitive and considerate and empathize. Mm. If you do those 3 things, be considerate, empathize, and I forgot the third thing I just said. I'm blanking on it. Anyway, my point being there is that if you're willing to do those things for other people, you really don't have to worry about being racist. And if you do make the mistake of saying something that can be construed as that, you'll find that most people are willing to understand and be willing to work with you, so you understand if you did say something racist and you didn't know it, like a microaggression. Yeah. For example, if Stacy isn't racist, but Stacy wants to touch Carrie's hair without asking, can she touch her hair, because she's Carrie's black and Stacy's white, and she wants to feel what that feels like. That's considered a microaggression, because it can be seen as making somebody else feel like they're the other. And I'm getting real PC on this, I know, but
you're fine.
You have to take into consideration how Carrie feels in that situation. Like, why do you want to like just touch my hair because I'm black?
Yeah.
Like that makes Carrie feel like she's the other, like she's the outsider. It's not inclusive, it's exclusive, and you're pushing somebody away that way. And sure, Stacy doesn't mean it that way. Stacy just thinks that your hair is cool, so she wants to touch it. Like, don't touch people's hair. That's weird. Unless they ask you, like, hey, touch my hair. Feel how good it feels. Because I do that sometimes because I have gorgeous hair. It's my number one quality. But, when it comes down to that, like, you have to take into consideration the affluency also within white culture. Because because somebody's white doesn't mean that they have being born white doesn't lock you into privilege. Like, as far as, like, the level of privilege you get.
Okay.
Because that's a lot of times outside your control. Like, I know I grew up with privilege. I know I didn't grow up with a lot of privilege. There's inherent systemic privilege, and then there's class privilege, which you get dependent upon your wealth and your, like, the prestige of your family or like the type of community you live in.
Yeah.
Being the preacher's family in a small community can really elevate you highly in the eyes of the community. But if you're the preacher's family in a big city, it doesn't really matter as much.
Right.
Like, that's a good comparison, I feel. Like, when you get enrolled to the nitty gritty to it, but like, do I feel like I'm the bad guy in all the films? No, I like to see myself as Kurt Russell's character in Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay.
Kurt
It's a strange movie, by the way.
It's a very strange movie, but it's an excellent movie because it reverses the idea of a white savior trope.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Russell is the bumbling friend. The film frames him like he is going to be the action hero, but everything he does either makes things worse or puts him in even more peril, and then the actual hero of the film has to save him. So the film itself is like a retrospective of the white savior trope being, inverted here. And, so I see myself as that. Like, I always felt like I'm the, like, if we want to talk like movie references, I'm not the bad guy. I'm the friend who tries really hard, and I'm going to mess up sometimes, and I hope that you forgive me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, also, like, let's be honest. I think Quinn and I can both agree on this. Fuck white people.
Yeah, I would go there.
Like, you look at the history of white people and, like, what white people have done as, like, a race, quote unquote. Now, granted, I'm not descended from anybody that's ever owned anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I'm not descended from anybody who's ever, like, held strong prejudices, lynched people, or, like, put burning crosses up in their yards. I have no, like, hereditary link to these people other than, like, the color of my skin.
Right.
But I have to acknowledge that people who look like me have hurt people and said things in the past using a particular word that means that because they have used it to hurt people, I should be considerate and not use it.
Yeah. But, like, for me is, like, I'm Irish and Italian mainly. So, like, I know, like, my grandparents were both, like, not my grandparents, like, my great-great-grandparents, like, their stories of just, like, racism happening to those people. And, like, it frustrates me that we as a society just deem people who are outsiders as lesser than us. And it's frustrating because, like, it's
Quinn,
just
is it
annoying.
fair to say that we both come from white minorities?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what happens when you let white people, like, break things down even further. Like I said, the categorization.
Yeah.
And it's not just white people; everybody does it. Because I actually found out in a communications class that I took that there's, like, you're judged deemed levels of blackness in the black community.
Yeah. That's
like
true.
that's
Let's get into
real,
that.
And I'm like, that speaks more to it being a human issue than a racial issue. But, like, in white culture, being, like, heavily mixed, especially with, quote unquote, it's less now.
It's like being
due to
a
the
mutt.
American homogenization and the European Union homogenization, I feel, as well. But the idea of, like, people are mean to Polish people, and they think Polish people are inherently dumb. Even though that's not accurate. Like, some of the smartest people in the world have come from Poland. But, it won't stop them from, making that assumption. It's the same thing with like, so being, like, a huge part of my heritage is Eastern European. Eastern European, Welsh, and Irish make up the bulk of my family history.
Yeah.
Welsh are sheep fuckers.
Basically, yeah.
Irish are drunks. And Eastern European people are hairy, gross, and listen to bad music.
That is true.
Yeah, like those are three things that are so. And so, like, my brother married somebody who's like almost pure Scottish. And my mom once made a joke that her ancestors would be rolling over in their graves if she found out she was marrying somebody like my brother. And my brother's like, "No, Mom, we're also part Irish." And my mom goes, "No." She says, "For marrying a lowlander because of the Welsh part of our heritage." And my brother goes, "Well, we're also Irish." And so she laughs, and she says, "So they'd be upset because she's marrying a drunk lowlander." Like, it's that kind of stuff. Like, there's the inherent like prejudice because we want to categorize each other as lesser or greater.
Yeah.
Rather than seeing us as a single race, the human race, and being equal with each other. But then you get into issues of how do you make everybody equal?
Yeah.
And we could be here all night with that. So I think I've talked enough about that question. Do you have any more you want to add to that, Quinton?
No, not really.
So, no, we don't feel like we're the bad guys.
Okay.
But we sure could be.
Yeah, I can see the reasons why. And I know the reasons why. I'm educated on that.
Yeah, exactly.
We both are, yeah.
Does it frustrate you to be like just classified as this white, just like, just white? 'Cause, there's like Italians and like Scottish and like even like Jewish people, and like when I think about this, like I always think about this like this skit from Chris Rock. I think it was Bigger and Blacker, where he was like talking about like
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about like black people hate everybody. I don't care if you just got here, and be like, "Hey, I'm Romanian. You're Romanian, cracker," and it's like like you're all just white people to me. So like,
Chris Rock, man.
Yeah, but like, does that frustrate you? Like, cause I can see like a proud Italian person be like, "I'm Italian. I'm fucking Italian. I'm 100% Italian. Like, I live and breathe Italian." But like, you're just classified as white or something like that. So.
Hey, guess what, motherfucker? You're still white. End of story.
Yeah, no,
no.
For me, it's always just been like, and I'll summarize my feelings up real quick. My feelings always been like, it's a spice of life. Like, am I white? Yes, but if you want to ask me deeper and want to probe a little bit deeper, then I'll tell you about like the wide tapestry that is my bloodline. But other than that, yeah, I'm just white.
Yeah, there's nothing to it. It's like you're African American. Oh, cool. You're black. It's like
it's the same thing.
The roots are like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Are you African American, Brazilian American? Like, but you're still black.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can try to dress it up to make it as fancy as you want to be, and that's cool. I think it's awesome if you want to get that specific. But if you really want to generalize it down, white. So no.
All right. Here's something I've always been thinking about. It's like a deeper thought type of thing, and it's probably just like me overthinking dumb shit. But like just like a general question, like how do you guys feel about white jokes? Just like like the typical dumb white jokes that you hear every day. That's bad. Like
they're whatever. It's like
they're bad. They're bad jokes. Make them funny.
Yeah, it's like I call my brother a cracker often, but it's like there's nothing to it. It's just like Mexicans call each other wetback or beaner. Then black people call each other the N-word. So it's like
right.
Like I can
just word to call each other. There's like honky, but when I say honky, I like to think of somebody can like, pardon me, I'm about to honky this up.
Yeah, but honky has like its roots in like such bad like things that it's like even just thinking about the word it just makes me disgusted. Like I'll just call my brother cracker because we're white. We're the color of saltines. Like there's nothing to it.
Sometimes my brother will like look at me, and I'll be like, "What?" And he'll like narrow his eyes, and he'll go. And he'll point at me and go, cracker.
I'll just call my brother a dumb cracker half the time.
There you go. No, my brother, the thing is, my brother's, so being part Hungarian means that you can sometimes, my brother in particular is very tan. Like very, very tan. Like a natural, like, tanness to him that many, like, growing up, people had thought that he was Mexican. Yeah. Because he also had, like, really, like, fine, dark, black hair. So like that's the thing. My brother and I are like the dark-haired, light-haired version of each other, in a lot of ways.
So you're Solid Snake and Liquid Snake.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm definitely the liquid, the inferior gened one.
Okay.
I know. Even though it turns out he actually had the superior genes, let's not go into this. Kojima. But no, my brother, like my brother,
shit right now.
Yeah,
y'all are making up some damn words.
But yeah, no, so my brother used to like growing up, but also in high school, he was named like an honorary member of like the African Heritage Club. Because I asked him why, and he said, well, like, I like their shirt. And I said, oh, that's a cool shirt. And they're like, yeah, we're giving it out if you're a member of our club. And my brother's like, can I join? And they're like, sure. So he got a shirt. And so like growing, like when I inherited some of his hand-me-down clothes when he was like not living at home anymore, I found that shirt and I'm like, what in the world is going on with this shirt?
Dope as fuck.
It was actually. It was super.
My brother has a shirt that his girlfriend gave him called Black Girl Magic.
Nice.
So.
Nice. See, that's the thing though. Like, I know there are jokes out there that are inherently racist, but like
my brother's girlfriend is black.
I figured
that's the
that
joke
was the inference, right?
Yeah.
But like, white people jokes suck. I've never heard a good white person joke.
White people are dumb. Ooh, like
white people are dumb. It's like when you're like when the society we live in puts you on top, just systemically. You don't get like the good, but then you have to like be like, oh well, I'll use a dumb Polak joke or a drunk Irishman joke.
Yeah,
and it's like sure, but you gotta break it down. There's no like low like total white person joke.
Yeah,
that are good. I wish there was a racist white people joke that was really funny that I could just tell all the time and like make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
What about the portrayal of like of white people? You know, like when like when Dave Chappelle like went around with whiteface and like talked to people and stuff like that. So that's funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay.
Because he like the exaggeration of it's not so much that he's making jokes about white people, it's that he's exaggerating like certain things about a type of white person that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That I've met people who are that kind of white person, but they are once again you break it down to the affluency within the white culture.
Yeah.
He was never playing like a regular white dude.
Right.
And that was kind of the point. That was kind of the humor that he was trying to portray. Was this is not like everybody can laugh at this because it's like the caricature of the white person, but you know that's not just like a straight fit like you know 3 white dudes walk into a bar and then like make a joke about it. Like there's nothing like that. That's cool.
Right.
At least
3 white guys walk into a bar. They're extremely racist. End of story.
3 guys walking into a bar. You think with the 3 of them they would have ducked, but. Yeah. Yeah. Next question. We're good.
Yeah, but like it's stemming from that though. But like, cause like it has me thinking, and this is like me like I said thinking too hard. And it's all a bunch of dumb shit. Like
no, let it loose, man. This is awesome.
Cause like I think about like how like white jokes and like calling people cracker and like black guys dressing up as white guys are just like the norm now, and people are just okay with that, and like. It kind of like it's a weird double standard to me because like this is me speaking personally, so like doesn't understand this. It's a weird double standard to me because like I feel like this is just pretty much like wearing blackface and like saying the N-word in like 1920s from like an outsider looking in, and like it makes me feel like in like the next 50, 100 years or whatever like that, like we'll pretty much be like doing. Like the way we like people were treated back then is like what we're gonna do then. It seems like in the future that like how we're just casually calling people cracker and calling people and dressing up in whiteface and saying that's funny. That's something that's socially accepted until like eventually it'd be like, hey, this is actually racist towards us type of thing.
Guess what? White people did it to black people for 100 years.
Yeah,
longer.
Like. Whoa, that's crazy. No, like you're totally allowed to do that. You're allowed to make fun of us.
Yeah, it's not even just allowed to.
It's a race did that to you. because you were deemed inferior. You were deemed three-fifths of a
that's
man.
The thing. That's Quinn hit the nail on the head with that. It's not a matter of like one race doing it about another race. It's one race who is in like systemically superior in the way that they've formed society, making fun of people who are generally accepted at this point in time and period as being inferior. The joke is not about, oh, hey, isn't this funny? It's look at how inferior these people are.
Look at these stereotypes. Look at these caricatures.
But in my eyes, that's what I see though. When black comics go on stage and we talk about white people, I feel like that's exactly the same thing. And like
you're hitting up. I think it's a matter of like whether or not you're punching down or punching up. White people doing it, it's punching down in society. Black people doing it, it's punching up in society.
Yeah. But do it all you want. I don't care. It's funny. Like,
yeah, I get that, but like, there's a frustration with me, whereas like I just feel like this is this mob mentality just going straight to white people. And yes, they deserve it. Yes, I fucking get that. But it's more of like,
I think you were worried about us getting upset.
Well, like I think there's a point where we need to like raise up and like, cause like I feel like there should be a double standard. Like if you can't do blackface, I shouldn't be able to do whiteface. Like that's how I feel.
And I think that's super awesome that you feel that way. And if you want to do that and feel that, I support you in that. I don't think, but I also don't feel like I have the ability or right to tell somebody that they can't do it, is the thing. Whether or not I'm offended by it or not, I don't really feel like I have the right to go up to a comic who's doing that and saying, hey, so listen, that's racist. And it's like, sure, it's racist, but what is the inherent joke behind it? What's the context behind that? Is it like, I remember when George Lopez did his, like the first time I heard him do his white voice, and it was literally about how a white guy was worried that George Lopez's car had been like backed into or something. Like, so is the joke that white people are kind and sincere? Like, there's an inherent context behind doing whiteface. Like, what are you trying to portray with whiteface? When people are doing blackface, the reason why we don't do blackface anymore is because the inherent nature of blackface was to demean and was to exemplify traits about black people that were both one or A, not true, and B, hurtful. I think the best way to actually look at blackface versus whiteface and really focus on the topic of blackface is there's this film called Bamboozled. And it's a really well put together film, but basically a black TV executive is about to be fired because he can't come up with a good idea. And he's sick and tired of the inherent, like, he wants to pitch stuff that is enlightening and it's positive about black communities. He wants to pitch the Cosby Show in different forms. And he's being called out on it by his boss, who is a white guy who's married to a black woman and has 2 black kids. And at one point says, I'm more black than you are. With how much, like, I'm inherent in, like, I live my life within the black culture. There's parts of that film like that. And so eventually he's sick and tired of it. So he basically pitches a minstrel show. And it gets greenlit. And it goes on. And it's horrifying because he finds 2 down on their luck, basically like drug addicts, who are performers in the, I think it's this, like, it's supposed to be like the CBS like open lot area, and he picks them up and brings them in, and they do blackface, and they break down why blackface is so horrible over the course of this film, and they talk a lot about other stuff, and it ends in a really like weird way, but the important part is that it talks about a really difficult thing in a very straightforward manner without pulling back any punches. So I would, for anybody out there who is uneducated about blackface, and you don't want to just like sift through articles and read, periodicals and stuff like that,
or just know about minstrel shows, and maybe check out the film from like 1905 called Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation's a great film to read up about, maybe see once, and that's it. That film's in the Library of Congress.
And understand why. Oh, that's because of Woodrow Wilson. And understand how the Ku Klux Klan basically rose.
Yeah, there's so many things about blackface that I get that there's a double standard there, and I get that. And here's the thing: you're right to be angry about the double standard, because you have, in my opinion, the right to be angry about the double standard. Now, if a white person's angry about the double standard and they're arguing about it based upon the double standard, and they're like, I just don't think, your same point in opinion, that you don't feel like it's right for anybody to do that because you believe in equality, that's an excellent argument to have, and that's a great discussion to have.
Right.
And in the future, I think that, if we keep working towards equality, like, there won't be the need to really distinguish it as whiteface or blackface, because as long as the context and the intent is clear, I'm not saying in the future there will be blackface, but
well, it's fucking hope and pray there's not.
I don't think there's going to be blackface in the future. But maybe we just don't see those types of things.
We have orange face in the White House.
That's another topic for another time. You want to talk about white people, and it's like white people that have problems.
Fucking Donald Trump's the fucking...
Yeah, look no further. But this isn't the West Wing in It podcast. Quinton.
I know.
I almost said to myself, actually, I was supposed to listen to that last episode where you guys gave me the Secret Service name.
Yeah, I guess.
But I didn't. I hadn't gotten to it yet. But
it's not whatever you said you thought it was.
I just thought, hey, I think it was Jarrett who called me out on it. He's like, you're not supposed to be able to give yourself that. I'm like, I'm the host of my own one-man story podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's an inherent nature in blackface that is similar to the power of the N-word.
Yeah. If not more powerful.
I can see that argument being made.
It's also like, to Cameron, your point, it's like someone saying the N-word with ER is way more offensive than someone saying the N-word with A at the end. There's different connotations there.
Yeah. Also, I don't get to make that decision. Like white people don't get to make the decision of whether or not ER is worse than AR or hard A or whatever you want to do that. Other people can. Black people
ER
make
is more historically like that was the term.
Yeah.
So like that's bringing up so much bad blood versus like with A being at the end of it. That's just more of like the loose. We're hanging out with friends. You know what I mean? It's like sup, blank. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you're rapping along to a song, right?
See, that's when I just like don't just say anything.
Right?
Yeah. Is that hard?
I've actually found out. I found a 5-letter word that if you insert it in wherever the N-word's going to be when it's that short 5-letter term, it can work. And are you ready for it? Because it's also one of the whitest things that you could say. Fella.
God.
I'm triggered.
Fella. F-E-L-L-A. Fella. Now, it doesn't sound as good, because let's realize we've all rapped some songs, and Quinn and I can both say we both rapped, and maybe you said the N-word. It's a hypothetical. And hypothetically, if we did say the N-word while singing and rapping along with something, that word flows so well.
Yes, because the reason why is because it's meant to rhyme.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I've slipped a couple of times, but like most of the time I'm just like it comes up and it's like me and my brother me and my brother were going down, like my brother got a haircut, I went with him. On the way back we were just listening to God's Plan, and like we were just cranking that all the way up, and like I don't think the N-word said in that, but if it was, we would just be like, both of us would be quiet and then go back to singing. It's just like something innate with us is like we don't go out of our way to say it. It's like when white people do say it, I'm all like, you should be ashamed of yourself, you're a disgrace. Go.
Yeah.
Is that hard for you? Like, to enjoy something and then just like not necessarily censor yourself because you're doing what you think is right, and which is right, obviously. But like, it's like I want to be in this moment. I want to feel this moment. I want to be everything in this moment, and then like you get like a frame rate skip or something like that, and then you just have to stop, and then you have to get right back into it. Type of thing. Like, does it mess up your flow or anything like that for you?
No, but it's like in those instances, like if I'm like jamming out or whatever, I'll just have the song running in my head, and I'll just have music really loud, so it's all internal instead of external. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And as far as like actually like having to take those moments, Does it suck? Yeah, but I mean, and it sucks that like I haven't done anything in my life to make me have to do that. But you know, I once again being conscious and courteous of like what's
right and wrong.
What's right and wrong, but also like what hurts people and what doesn't hurt people.
Right.
Like if me using a word hurts people, like hurts them on a deep intrinsic level of like their self-respect and their belief of their worth as a person, then I need to take a step back and say I shouldn't use that word.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's not necessarily about being PC. It's not about being politically correct. It's just about being a good, decent human being.
Right.
And like I don't know, I'm pretty sure I can say I'm not PC.
Yeah. But I don't think anyone is. I know people claim to be, but it's not like there's no way to be like legitimately politically correct because everything's interpreted so many ways.
Yeah, the context matters always.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting question. Like, when you do, for like, however accidentally it is like when the slip up does happen, like, what do you do? Like, I know it's like sorry every 5 seconds, but like I know like I know you feel bad and everything like that, but like what? Like I'm curious. Is like how do you rectify a situation like that?
Okay, in my instances, when black people tell me that I can call them the N-word, I still don't call them the N-word because
it's just
that's out of respect. Because they can call me the N-word and I just don't care. I'll just call them cracker.
There's a story of how I learned that the N-word is not okay for me to say, and it's when my friend, as a kid, my friend Raleigh said to me, he said, Cam, you're really cool, like you're my N-word, and I'm like, Raleigh, you're really cool too. You're my N-word too.
Mm-hmm.
And he stopped me and he goes,
No,
like
don't say that.
Don't. And I'm like, but like you said it to. He is no, like we're cool still, but like no, like I understand you misinterpreted what I was basically saying to you as like this is something we're going to call each other, but it is not one of those things.
Yeah,
I will call you this. And you will refer to me as your friend. Or if I had my knowledge that I have now, I would have called him my fella. Actually, I wouldn't have said that because in the 90s, that definitely would have been connotated as being about being gay.
Yeah. But like even in my instances, I would call people brother, you know what I mean? Just like, just because that's something out of respect and not like, like just because it's easier like saying, hey brother, instead of just saying like, hey, and like, you know what I mean? It's, but
N-word Jim.
I follow the Keenan and Kel Good Burger method. Just call people dude.
Yeah.
He's my dude. She's my dude. They're my dudes. We're all dudes.
Shout out to Good Burger though.
Shout out to Good Burger. Home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Good.
But no, Nabeshin, to answer your question, like the only times I'm known to slip is when I'm in the car with my brother with like blasting music to where like only people that can hear is me and my brother.
Right.
And even then, if one of us slip, we just like we get mad at each other.
Yeah, it's like
then we just like then we just
can't believe you did that, Quinton. Cannot believe you slipped up. No,
but it's it's not even a slip. It's like just don't say it.
Yeah, if I've ever slipped up, it's usually when I'm listening to X Gonna Give It to You. Okay. And it's just because I'm already rapping along with it, and the flow is so good, and I just catch myself, and I'm just like,
the flow is not something I would attribute to that song, but
man, when you are just like when it is down in that third verse, and you're just like going hard with it, it's just like
DMX is weird. Let's just
DMX is super weird. Also, you cannot like I can no longer listen to a lot of his catalog because I feel super weird about how homophobic it is.
Yeah.
Like 90s rap has a lot of homophobia in it, man.
Yeah. Like my best friend Mark, like he loves Eminem, but like
some of that stuff.
See, I can't even. I think Eminem's like just disgusting, but that's just because he's talking about killing himself and all that. So I'm all like, I'm good.
But yeah, no. So yeah, any more things you want to suss out of us, Nabeshin?
Oh, I guess the whole, since we were talking about Eminem in a weird way, like, how do you feel about the whole, like, like the black people are the white people acting black? Like, do you like, or like that's a weird way of saying it because like, there's just no such fucking thing as that. But like,
Yeah.
you know, like more
It's like
more.
white people with dreads or like white people wearing chains and shit. It's like I don't get it. I like
Neither
and
do
think It's like I see people like when I'm in college. I see people doing that, and I see like I'll be hanging out with my black friends, and they look over at the guy and they're just like, they're all like, "This is disgusting," and then they just keep going on their day because it's cultural appropriation. At the end of the day, that's all it is. It's people trying to be something
I feel weird
different.
about cultural appropriation.
But it's like there's a great, I don't know who said it, but it's a great line where it's like white people have no culture. They have stolen the culture from everyone else.
Yeah.
They've appropriated their culture, everyone else's culture, into theirs to make
You gotta
it
be careful.
theirs.
You're treading on some dangerous lines because Nabeshin and I are both giant weebs. So,
But like, it's the same thing though. Like, I know I used to be that way when I was younger, and like I got rid of that. I could literally cut that off when I realized like how
not cool it was.
Yeah, how not cool it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. The way whenever I think of a cultural appropriation, I remember what a Native American classmate said to me. They said, because I asked them about cultural appropriation, because they brought it up. They're like, "Well, that's just cultural appropriation." I said, "Well, what is like?" And he said, she said to me that cultural appropriation is when you take somebody else's culture and you wear it as a costume.
Yup.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand. So there's certain things about like I would think that it's not cultural appropriation if you grew up and lived around like in an urban black community. You happen to be white, and fashion, culture, everything around you is telling you if you want to look cool, you wear this. If you want to like sound cool, you talk like this. And so there's a difference between that and
Cool
somebody
Greg.
who wants to wear somebody else's culture as a fashion accessory.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, like, Cool Greg is a great example of someone who is
Exactly,
who
yeah.
grew up that way and like he lives that life, and you just like he's someone you can like actually just look at and say like, oh, you live this life. I know what kind of person you are. This is not some fake shit. This is like real life, and this is you. So like,
As
Yeah,
somebody
and like
who's-
that's the thing is, but to Cool Greg's example is like he embraces it. He's not like going out of his way. He's not wearing dreads. Sure, he'll have a chain every once in a while, but like he's not going out there describing his life. It's just his life.
yeah, exactly.
That's the problem is with when people do that is like people don't understand people's come up and like what actually goes on in their brain, what was happening when they were a kid. That's the problem.
Yeah. Don't wear other like when people wear like Native American headdresses and it's like you're dancing on dangerous territory there because depending on what you're wearing that for. For example, my local high school is called the Westwood Warriors, and the Westwood Warrior is a warrior brave. That's their mascot.
Mm-hmm.
And the mascot will like wear the warrior headdress.
Mm-hmm.
But the mascot isn't always portrayed as a Native, like is not always being portrayed by a Native American. So, and it's also the same thing with like the Florida Seminoles, like that team. Like the Seminoles have embraced that team, and like the school works hard with the Seminole people to like make sure that like they're representing it correctly because they take pride in being Seminoles. Like for their team to be called the Seminoles, like Seminole fans take pride in that, and it's also like the difference between like, you know, calling somebody comparing the Atlanta Braves to the Washington Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's pride in being a Brave. There's pride in being a Chief.
But the Redskins is a stupid name for a stupid team.
Exactly. There's no pride in being called Redskin. Right? That's how it's once again, these are things that have been explained to me when I've asked this question.
Football is probably the dumbest sport out there. So
okay, there's dumber sports than football. All right,
and it's full of basically racists for what I've seen. So,
are you calling all the black athletes racist?
No, I'm comprised of its fans.
Oh, I mean, what's the Avenue Q song? Everybody's a little bit racist.
Yeah, but
yeah. So
we're not
I don't want to. I don't. Not much knows this about me, and Quinn, you know it about me a little bit too. But I hate it when people just put people in like giant swaths of people. But like to explain how like and I guess I'll use this term, and I'll only use this term once, and it's just now. But the wigger phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to emphasize the "w," so there was no confusion there.
White people trying to be black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that phenomena that really happened, and that was a part, like, was part of cultural appropriation. And because there was cultural appropriation around it, it led to a younger generation of people growing up thinking this is just the regular cultural norm of what's looking cool and not. But like, if you come home and you take off your chains, you like take like you change your clothes, you pull your pants up, and you're just like, hello, mother and father. Like, that's cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Mm.
What I'm trying to say is hashtag cool Greg ain't cultural appropriation, all right?
I'm gonna find a verse real quick.
Okay.
Which I think it's from the famous NWA song, "Express Yourself." Let me find it. Getting onto the program. You can keep talking because I'm gonna find this verse real quick.
Cool.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I growing up, I grew up during that phenomena of people appropriating black culture like that. But like I said, growing up for me, it wasn't that black culture was fashionable at the time.
I'm gonna interrupt real quick. Here's the verse. Quote: "Some musicians cuss at home, but scared to use profanity when up on the microphone. Yeah, they want reality, but they won't hear none. They rather exaggerate a little fiction."
Mm.
That's a good way to explain it. Yeah. Like,
Shout out
yeah,
to-
if there's and I think it's a matter of authenticity to it as well.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I respect about Eminem is that Eminem grew up in that culture in Detroit.
Yeah, but he's still a gross human being.
He sang
Who's
with
that?
Elton John. If Elton
Who's that?
John can forgive him, I can forgive him too.
Okay.
If Elton John can love someone, I can love them too, because Elton John's the homie.
I'm not racist, but I've always one black friend.
Yeah. I hate when people say that. It's like, just fucking stop.
Just like, I find more people use that as a joke than
Those
as
people are
reality.
colorblind.
Yeah. I mean, granted, like, you could argue that, like, people who aren't, like, didn't grow up with inherent racism, like, systemically, like, put into their livelihood when they were growing up are, quote-unquote, colorblind. But the way that it's used by people who try to get away with, like, just gross
Dumb
racist shit.
Yeah.
It was weird growing up. Like, cause like race was never really a thing for me, other than like my parents like beating it down. Like, you're black, you have to like understand that like this is a thing. You know, cause like, you know, I fall in love with like white girls. Like my best friends are white people, and like it's just been a thing where it's like never really been a thing. And like I've been blessed enough that like racism has really invaded my life personally in a big way, but like I've always like I've seen it you know, affect other people in my life, like you know, like my grandparents or something like that, where like they had to like go through that. So like it was always like a weird thing to try to understand. And like I don't know, like I feel like I feel it's just an education thing, and that's all it really is. It's like I remember when like my nieces and nephew were growing up, and like when they used to like describe people in their classes, and like he's a white boy, don't worry about him, or something like that. They say something casually like that, and I always like got under my skin, and I'd be like, hey, don't say it like that, like, but like how else would you say that though? Like when she's trying to like describe somebody, like it's a weird thing, like because I just don't like that. Like I don't like saying like, oh, the black boy over there. Like, no, like, I think there should be better words than that. That's like a weird hang up with me. Or at least when I hear it from like a 5-year-old kid saying like, oh, my best friend Hope, she's really cool. Oh, and she's white. Like, why end the sentence like that? like
it's.
Well, it's because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Nabeshin, but there are some black people who are afraid of white people.
Oh, that's
who
true.
Are inherently suspicious of white people. So like, there's the Little Uzi Vert song called "Neon Guts" with Pharrell. Vert's got a verse basically like, he brought home a white girl, and his mom was like, "She's a witch. Take her out of this home." And like, there's that going on as well, which is not perceived as often as it is.
Yeah, Nabeshin, I think a big part of that is, and I know we were on when we did our Fireside Chat solo cast thing a while back on your episode on my podcast, you and I talked about it. Like you really strive inherently to find equality.
Yeah.
Like you have that kind of a heart that you want to believe in like the good of people. But I mean, I get why. Like, and the thing is, it's like there's historical precedent to why, people should be suspicious of white people.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, like there's really good evidence of that. And so I get it. Like, I don't like it. That's how the way things are. I know I didn't do anything about it. I know that they didn't do anything to like be put into a situation where they feel this way. But like they've got a good reason.
They have damn good reasons.
They have very damn good reasons.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like it comes down to that. Like nobody in my family's ever like done anything systemically or inherently to like bring other people down based upon the color of their skin.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't have people in my family or my historical family, like my ancestors, who weren't racist. I don't know them I know one person, my great grandfather, who was racist. And said some really nasty stuff whenever Jackie Robinson would ever come up to bat when he was listening to the Dodgers baseball games. Like I'm descended from like that kind of a person. Now like the chances of him ever actually of meeting a black person in his life are almost nil. But like, so I get why though. Like I can't blame people for feeling a certain way because they have a good reason to feel that way, or even if it's a crazy reason, even if it's a reason that's like, oh, get that girl out of the house because she's white, she's a witch. Like, there's that kind of stuff, and I really wholly believe in my heart that in time, like if we really work towards, if we really look at things more like you do, Nabeshin, that we can come to that kind of a place. But like, this is the world that we live in. We all thought, oh man, we elected a black president, and then it's like we elected a black president, and a good part of our population in this country turned their heads, and we saw them for just the racist, nasty people that they are. And it like these nasty troll people who, like Ted Nugent, who said somebody should shoot the president of the United States because he's black.
Kid Rock's running for Congress, and he's just riding the wave of just like racists in Michigan. You know what I mean? Like, there's things all over the country.
They always start off the same thing. Like, I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to, to put my hand over my heart and sing the Star-Spangled Banner. It's like, yeah, I can totally get behind that. And if you take a knee, it's like, oh, nope.
Yeah.
But it's like
the fun.
It's the fun. Okay, I'm gonna interject real quick and go on a tangent. Is like my dad's military, so like when the take the knee thing was happening, my dad's all like, "Cool, do whatever you want. Like you're getting paid to do this. I'm like not paying. Like I'm paying to have this channel. You know what I mean? It's like he wasn't really caring, but like I know people at my work who are just like I'm not going to say their position, but like they were just like they just talk about like, oh, they were so deeply offended. But I'm like, how is it? How are you offended about? Are they disrespecting the flag? But the flag is legally allowed to be burned. So like, what's going on there? It's like there's so much going on, and people just like see that as like, oh, they shouldn't be doing all that, and they just attack the people doing it instead of just like understanding, why they're doing it and why that problem is there and how to fix the problem and feel a need and a want to fix the problem.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick didn't take a knee because he hates the military. Colin Kaepernick took a knee because he wanted to protest something and bring attention to an issue that is a serious epidemic that is... I don't know. I don't have the statistics in front of me, so I can't say it's on the rise, but at least our awareness of it with social media makes us ever more apparent that, these terrible things are happening to young black men in our country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Weird question because I'm ignorant on it. Like, was that more? It's a weird way of saying it, but was that a fad, quote unquote? Like, are people still doing it?
Take a knee, yeah. People are still doing it.
Okay, cool.
So some of them are incurring fines from their teams, and some of them are even being threatened that they'll be fired.
Yep.
Okay.
Trump said, "quote Get all those sons of bitches off the field."
Yep.
Okay. I'm proud of him. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, like that's still happening right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, what was the original question? We got off on I think like 12 tangents there.
Yeah, we got it.
Which is not uncommon, especially if you get Quinn and I on the same topic.
No, I think we'll just wrap it up from here. Like I appreciate you guys a lot. Like Quinn inviting me on to talk about like his excitement for Black Panther and like getting that general excitement from him.
Don't even get me started on that.
Black Panther's the best. I talked about it on my podcast.
It's my number one Marvel movie.
Number one Marvel. That's in my heart. Like it's up there for me. It depends because I recently rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and it's like, oh, I really love that movie too though.
Yeah, it's not as good.
When I think about it, like the stuff in Black Panther, and the thing is also I was a fan of Black Panther when it was just the comics.
I got hyped because of that soundtrack.
That soundtrack was awesome.
I fainted when that thing dropped.
That thing, when it dropped, I was just
so good.
What is the soundtrack? And I'm like, how is this the soundtrack for the movie? And then I saw the movie and I was like, this is how it's the soundtrack for the movie. Oh man. It's so good.
I will stand by my take on the soundtrack. Seasons and Paramedic are the best songs in that album. I stand by that claim.
Oh, that's good. That was a good one. I love All Hail King Killmonger. There's so many good songs on that. But I will say that Black Panther, I remember when Black Panther was announced, and everybody's like, who wants a Black Panther movie? And it's like, me. I want a Black Panther movie. Black Panther is such an awesome character in the comic books. He's married to Storm. He was a member of the Illuminati, which was like this. Anyway, I'm going to stop myself right now because I'll literally gush for a while on it. If anybody really wants to hear me talk about it, they can go listen to the Black Panther topic on the Naughty Gamers podcast that I did, because I literally gush about it for half an hour about how cool Black Panther is as a character, his history, and everything about why it's so awesome. So
also, yeah, and also check out Quinton's Breaking Reality of that.
Yes, Breaking Reality on that one was awesome.
What number was that, Quinn?
I have no idea.
Okay.
that show is so far past. Quentin's no longer thought about that show in such a long time.
No, I haven't. I've got so much going on.
Yeah. But also,
I will always hold it against you, Quentin. I'll always hold it against you that you never had me on that show.
But also, thank you, Cam, for showing up and having this discussion with me as well. It's weird. Weirdly enough, that exchange we did maybe a year ago made me think about this, because I thought about it recently when it was the fist bump emote that we did, and it was black, and then you just offhandedly asked me is it okay if I use that too? I'm like, probably not.
when you brought up this topic on Twitter, I was reminded of that that DM conversation we had, because I didn't know you could change the colors of your fists on Twitter, the color of the hand emotes, and I was like, man, the black one looks so cool, because I use the night mode, and so it's just this awesome black fist just in the middle of the night mode navy blue screen.
Yeah,
and so I was like, man, I'm like, is it racist? I was like, I should ask Nabeshin. I want to use that. I was just I don't find it racist, but it could be.
Yeah, it was weird, because I don't think I've ever had that question before. It was huh? A race question like that. Is this racism? It wouldn't be to me, but for some certain people, yes. So so you probably shouldn't do it. And he's like, okay.
When I thought about who do I know that's black, but also B, who do I know who wouldn't put me on blast for asking this question? And then immediately nixed Blessing as a person to ask. He'd put me on blast so hard.
Oh, he totally would.
He totally would. I was like, I need somebody I can trust, not to because I'm about to ask an ignorant white person question.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking my ignorant black person questions about white people. So I appreciate both of you.
No worries.
All right. Quinton, pimp your shit, man. Who are you?
I'm Quinton Hoffman. You can find everything that I do on irrationalpassions.com, which is the site I write for, and it's a site which Nabeshin helps host a podcast on. And I also have a podcast called West Winging It, where I am the co-host with Trevor Starkey from trevortrove.com and Logan Wilkinson, my editor over at irrationalpassions.com. That's a fun show. It gets the episode we recorded yesterday got very heated.
Oh, I'm excited.
So that was fun.
If you have ever watched West Wing on any level, listen to this podcast because it's really good. Because Quinton's young enough that he doesn't like remember the 90s that way.
I was born in 98, so
yeah. So it's the best because Quinton, I love you so much. I adore you, and you're so good on that podcast.
Thanks. I try to be well spoken.
You're very good. I love it also because like Trevor, because I get lunch with Trevor a bunch, and
yeah,
like over at Portillo's. So whenever we have a Portillo's day, like he says, he's like, this is the thing that Quinton said, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Oh my god!
There's a lot of pre-show shit that I have to cut out too. So,
Cam, who are you? Where are you from?
Who am I?
Yes.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Yeah, no, I am Cameron Abbott. I'm the Unsexiest Comedian. You can follow me on Twitter at Unsexiest Comedy. I host a podcast that has never missed a weekly deadline in a year and a half, running up towards it. No, not necessarily. We're a little bit past a year. But it's called the Naughty Gamers Podcast. You can follow us over at naughtygamers.com, Twitter / sorry, you can follow me on Twitter at Unsexiest Comedy. Yeah. I am a very vanilla person. So mostly it's me commenting on friend stuff, or it's me putting out just just very basic shit.
For sure, man. And I've been your host, Brian Nabeshin Jackson. Like Quinton said, you can find me on Irrational Passions. Talk video games, dumb shit.
Mostly dumb shit, though.
Yeah, it's mostly dumb shit.
You guys talk about the best dumb shit. I love it.
Yeah, for 4 hours? God.
The average length of an Irrational Passions podcast, yes.
Yeah. And this has been Fresh Off the Dome. This show's been very weird for me. It's literally just a conversation show that I've just been enjoying, just doing every once in a while. Like, there's no schedule or anything like that. Just something to put out. It's mostly for me. Just be real honest and real for a second. Like, this is mostly for me just to like actually get better at talking with people because I never really do that. And it definitely has helped me immensely with that. And and I appreciate like all the support people has been giving me about like the stuff I've been doing, and just like people just even want to come on and just have this conversation with me. Like, I've just been very thankful and very humbled and very very happy by doing this. So thank you all.
Hey Nabeshin, you're welcome.
Thank you, white person. Yes, thank you. Well, until next time, guys, we'll see you later.